This is Jorge Garcia, and we are looking into the big history of roller coasters, in which we will dive deeper into the main thresholds of roller coasters over time, how the changes relate to collective learning. Don't forget to keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times.
Let's start with Threshold 1, as I'd like to call it. Of course, we will be learning about roller coasters throughout this documentary, but a surprise to many, the base for all roller coasters wasn't really a roller coaster at all. This is where the fun begins, literally. The first type of roller coaster was built in Russia, a hill of snow supported by wood in which the riders would sled down on a block of ice for amusement, but this was mostly for the amusement of upper-class section of citizens. The ingredients for this were simple thoughts of friction between ice and snow, as well as weather, combined through the Goldilocks conditions of having these ingredients combined by someone in some way, whether accidental or purposeful. This discovery affected the world in such a rippled way that multitudes of people could enjoy the ride then and many years thereafter.
As the fun could no longer continue during the summer months, a new method was needed in order to continue the chilly fun under the hot sun, and this design was constructed by way of request from Catherine the Great, the Russian Empress from 1762 until 1796. This design incorporated a wooden slide coated with slippery wax and a cart made of wood, as to mimic the sliding of that in the winter. The ingredients for this to happen were as follows: the model of the roller coaster from before, the understanding of some wax's abilities to be really slippery, and the drive to adapt the past model into the new one. The Goldilocks conditions were satisfied when all three of these ingredients were combined by way of the request of the Empress. At the beginning of the roller coaster, as told before, the first two roller coasters weren't really roller coasters at all. A hill of snow or a hill of wax supported by wood shouldn't be hard to explain whatsoever, due to the simplicity of design, and it really isn't. Wood is strong and very stiff, and as it has high compression strength if the load is parallel to that of the grain. Not only that, but wood is also light and flexible compared to most metals. As for the ladder coaster, working with properties of wax, some wax types have the lowest coefficient of friction known, given a great amount of slip and slide, with little to no abrasion. Being a material for the summer, some waxes have heat resistance past 500 degrees Fahrenheit.
In Threshold 3, the joy of creation is passed on through the world, starting with one country at a time. During the war between Russia and France, some of the French soldiers found the idea of these sled and slide systems to be appealing and brought the idea home with them. This idea was then brought to life and even modified a bit, adding wheels to the car and a track for it to go on rather than a simple sled and sleigh. France went on to create the first two continual circuit operating roller coasters, serving as a true base for all other coasters worldwide, up to this point on this very day. The ingredients that went into this were the interest of the soldiers in a fairly new concept, engineers willing to build such a structure, innovators willing to add wheels and the like, and, of course, the inspiration from the roller coaster before.
Go a bit deeper and you might come across Threshold 4. Bringing it around the world a bit, our next stop is Pennsylvania. Mock Chunk Railroad, the first American roller coaster, was nothing more than a simple minecart at first. Minecarts, as most of us know, were used to transport ores, rocks, and more from mine to wherever the designated deposit spot was, which brought a new convenience for miners. Although it did have an important purpose, some days had less use of the minecarts than others, and these were the days that the miners took advantage of. For only a nickel, on those low-traffic days, the miners could bring you up a hill, let you go as you ride down, and repeat the process several times over, serving as a thrill ride for America to base their own on, focusing more on hills than curves. The ingredients for this were along the lines of the miners recognizing and taking their opportunity, the availability of the track, and the Goldilocks conditions being that people actually rode the ride, even though it took them a while to depart and return. Patience makes perfect, although this was more of a near-perfect base for other coasters. With another change in the industry, rather than looking at the roller coasters, we find ourselves at Threshold 6. After the rise of roller coasters, as happens with many popular things, the rides began to fall in popularity, closing amusement parks here, there, and just about everywhere. As the fall of the roller coasters began, events such as the Great Depression, World War II, a shift in entertainment, and a movement of the majority of the population from the city to suburbia had sped up the fall of our beloved rides. This changing the numbers from nearly 2,000 in 1929 to 172 in 1970, in America at least. The ingredients in this were the crowd's increasing disinterest in roller coasters, the terrible events listed earlier, and the Goldilocks condition for this one was a mix of the two ingredients happening at around the same time, causing a double blow to amusement park popularity overall.
Don't worry too much about that last threshold, because threshold 7 is sure to lift your spirits up. Well, lift your spirits and the popularity of roller coasters, that is. At this point in time, roller coasters have declined to a point of, seemingly, no return. They do return, however, and a big thanks to that is a roller coaster made at Disneyland, which makes use of a tubular steel track instead of the rails from before. Matterhorn was this coaster, and with the new technology, it had the possibility to do things never before thought to be possible from roller coasters, such as loops, sharp quick turns, and many other maneuvers that could be done on the ground or in midair. The ingredients for this were the minds behind the creation of the Matterhorn, a bit of tubular steel, with the Goldilocks condition being the release happening during the downfall, resulting in a cool coaster with cool new innovation, but with increased popularity as there weren't many other roller coasters to focus on. Welcome back, it's me, Seven Coleman, and this is the big history of roller coasters. In this segment, we will take a look at some of the most important innovations in roller coaster technology, which roller coasters best show these innovations at work, and what the hypothesis of the next big innovation will be. Hopefully, you'll be able to follow the structure of the learning within this, and what's been taught will reinforce your ride.
Coming to the end of the ride, Threshold 8 continues on until today, tomorrow, and many years to come. As we've seen throughout these thresholds, there's been a constant trend of increase, even to the point where the decrease is an increase. Otherwise, the Matterhorn might not have been just a success. The increase of complexity continues from this point and throughout, hopefully the rest of history. An example of the increase in complexity would be the creation of the stand-up coaster in the 1990s, developed by Kazu Yamada. This ride features a shoulder restraint and a bicycle-type seat for the rider to sit on, but other than that, the rider stands, per se, throughout the whole ride until the end. Another rise was during the 90s, in which the hyper coaster was developed. Made only of metal, this type of coaster can go so much higher than other types, and still be safe to ride. The ingredients for this threshold are the roller coasters from the past, the innovation of engineers and scientists from all over, and even the input of me and you, combined with the Goldilocks condition of the thrill seekers, the adventurous people of today, looking for a better, improved, newer coaster, and our will to improve, combining with the past ideas and bringing us to where we are today.
Welcome back, it's me, Seven Coleman, and this is the big history of roller coasters. In this segment, we will take a look at some of the most important innovations in roller coaster technology, which roller coasters best show these innovations at work, and what the hypothesis of the next big innovation will be. Hopefully, you'll be able to follow the structure of the learning within this, and what's been taught will reinforce your ride. What you've seen today is the past, the present, and the future of the roller coaster industry, and its wheels of innovation in motion. This has been the Big History of Roller Coasters documentary, and we thank you for taking a ride on our info coaster. The exit is to your left, and have a great day. Here it comes.